to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we smash apart the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute chunks so we can analyze them in scrupulous detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Road to Infinity podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Mr. Owen Wilson.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Oh, that was the wow supercut, huh?
I did my own. That was my own. That was my own
your
specific
own?
supercut.
Oh, brava. And bravo.
Wow.
Hooray, that was pretty good.
Because at the very beginning of this minute, we have one of the funniest wows
You're absolutely right.
ever. We have so much great stuff to talk about this minute, but I just, whoa.
Yeah.
What?
So, we before we get to the wow, we get to the start of minute 65 of Louis Leterrier's epic film, The Incredible Hulk, from 2008. And we pick up where we left off, which is in the shabby hotel room somewhere in Virginia, where Bruce has just emerged from the bathroom after making some horrible sounds. Betty has just come back from doing some very helpful shopping, and they're now figuring out what's going on. And so she was trying to figure out why he was making such terrible sounds, and it's because he had to get his data back. If you remember all the way back in, I don't remember what it was. Was it in the 50s? I try to remember where it was that he swallowed.
Oh, early 50s, yeah.
The early 50s. That he swallowed this Sandisk. Sandisk. Good for the throat, bad for the colon.
Yeah.
If you must swallow a Sandisk, we at Sandisk highly recommend you vomit up. And Sandisk would like me to stop putting bodily functions near the name of their product. Sandisk. Goes down smooth, comes back up smooth.
Depends on how you swap. Never mind.
That's true. So that basically Bruce has gotten it back. And I got to say, of the two ways to get this data back, this was the better choice.
But here's what I want you to understand.
Yes.
We talked about this at the end of the last minute.
Yeah.
We heard him coughing it up.
Yes.
I don't think she knows what she heard. Because here's why. What's the conversation? He picks up with, my data back.
Uh-huh.
And she goes, you ate it? And he responds in a dopey, well, you know the
circumstances called for a little improvisation.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And she goes with the reply of, wow.
It is epically well delivered. Like, just the straight face she has when she says it. Not even like, wow, like, what a good boy. I mean, just like,
no,
wow.
Her expression is wow, as in, you want me to think you threw it up, but you didn't, did you?
I was thinking like, wow, this is the guy that I threw away my life for.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
well.
You could go so many ways with this. She's just like, and now we're done.
Yeah, so I need to go make a quick call, Daddy.
This, if it wasn't the cave, if it wasn't the motel room, and now you with your grin going, hey, look what I got.
Yeah, I know.
And he even has the expression on his face. I mean,
she already has the expression of the long-suffering wife. Like, yeah, you did that.
Yeah, right? And he's got this expression like, oh, look at this. Oh my God, it's so real. I mean, I tell you what, I genuinely laugh. Every time I've seen this movie, I hugely laugh at this part because, one, Liv Tyler, amazing deadpan delivery.
Yeah, I can say, she's been in a bunch of comedies. She's got good comedic chops.
Oh,
she knew just how to deliver
awesome.
a wow.
And she does, I mean.
Not Owen Wilson.
Not an Owen Wilson, but it's still a wow.
Wow.
Do you like that?
So then it's time to see, because apparently.
Oh, let's see what'd you get.
Yeah, that's right. What'd you get me? So Betty dumps out her stuff, and she got him the Polar F5.
Oh.
Everybody, from like minute 4, we talked about this. well, first of all, we were right.
Yes.
Look, there's the box and everything.
Way to go.
We weren't as smart enough to watch all the way through to see what it was. Like this was genuinely a surprise to me. This is like, it hit me on a different level from doing this podcast. She threw in the box and I was like, oh, it's the polar. I'm like, I knew exactly what that is because I've read the manual on this thing. I was so excited.
Fantastic.
What a sweet kid.
And he's excited.
It's his favorite kind.
He's totally excited.
He's excited too.
Yeah, he loves it.
Right. He's like, doesn't even have the chest band. Ooh, that was a big callback.
Wow, that's right.
Long time Marvel Movie Minute fans. Now, this is a pretty good like comic book gag that's played out way too long. Like, okay, I get it. She throws him a pair of purple pants, which he holds up, and it's like, okay, you're right. The Hulk, usually in his traditional thing as you see him before the movie things, was Hulk in purple pants because green and purple look really good together. That's why the colorist decided to do that. And so it's a nice little like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But boy, even in a minute, those like 10 seconds play out like an eternity. Like, we get it.
It's almost like you want like they wanted to put an arrow in the scene. Like, see?
Yeah. Huh?
Look.
Right? This is for you, fanboys.
And,
it's like,
well, okay.
Okay. All right, Louis. We got it.
There's purple. And then there's the color these pants are.
Yeah.
Which is bright purple.
Ultra radioactive purple. Yeah.
I mean,
Even Prince would be like, whoa.
yeah, right? Oh, no. It's, Ed does a good job of kind of hamming it up. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
She has the laughter. She kind of, you know what? It's playful, but yeah, it goes on just like 4 seconds too long.
Yeah. Yeah. From there, we cut to a newscast. This is WHIH. Now, I thought, oh, it's interesting. Like, they created their own, fake newscast or whatever thing for it. And I thought, well, it was probably just for this movie. No, it turns out it's not. So the WHIH, not only when the Hulk came out, did they create an entire YouTube page for WHIH, which sadly doesn't exist anymore, but when it came time to do marketing for the other movies, they resurrected it. And so actually, if you search WHIH, you will find these really great newscasts that Marvel put together as promotion for other movies, for Ant-Man, for I think Iron Man 3, because Christine Eberhardt, I think is her character name. She was from the original Iron Man movie and has showed up in all of them. She is a newscaster for WHIH, and she does like an interview with Ant-Man, like with Scott Lang when he's in prison about his thing. I mean, like they have all of these great, and they put together a bunch of them. So there's some really cool stuff. So it started here and then continued on for a very, very long time. And at any point, they could probably bring it back up. I have to like look in to see if they actually put it in any other of the movies.
Oh yes, no, it is.
It
comes back. We'll talk about it. I mean, hopefully someday in the future.
Yeah.
And this is the World News. So the World News channel WHIH. And I don't know. It doesn't. I couldn't really find what does WHIH stand for.
I couldn't find that.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, okay, and I don't even know what's the reference.
Probably it was whoever the graphic designer was originally put. What doesn't? We need to find a station that doesn't have a real life correspondent. What letters do we have that no one has right now?
You can't do what like all the CBS shows have done, which is their fictional network is ZNN.
Oh.
With the actual band logo from CNN, but it's ZNN. That's nice. What you get.
Yeah, I always like the fake logos.
I think this is great. Well, no,
drink a big bottle of Grepsy. Grepsy.
They come back many times. In the MCU, this is like the official CNN of the MCU, and they still have the YouTube channel came down, which a lot of people when that happened, I forget when that happened, but people were like, why are they doing that? Because it was a great viral, marketing gimmick. Yeah. And some of their stuff still exists. I think their Twitter account is still out there.
Oh, is it?
So, it's been taken over by somebody. Maybe they just let the account lapse. But this is something that we definitely see come back, and it's kind of great that it involves a character from the original Iron Man.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and then they found a nice way of tying the two things together, and so it's a nice little piece that started right here in The Incredible Hulk. So the reporter that we see reporting on the story of the Hulk's attack on Culver University her name is Ji-Yoon Lee. And so I started doing research on her, and I saw she has like 29 credits on IMDb, and I'm like, all of them are reporters. Every single one is like a newswoman or reporter. So I was like, oh, wow, I guess she's just really good at that particular role, so that's what she gets hired for. So I'm like, well, that's great, I guess, if you got a thing that you're good at. And so I was like, okay, so I started digging into a little more of her history. It turns out she's actually a full-time journalist who's just really good at acting. So
What?
she's a full-time journalist in Canada. And so whenever, like, she's on, if they ever need a reporter, she's on the short list, and they just call her up, and she comes in and can do this because this is what her job is. She legitimately is a real reporter.
Okay, that's some method acting right there, isn't there? I
Yeah,
mean,
right?
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like this is her side hustle.
How awesome is that?
Right?
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, born in South Korea, and now she's a Canadian, news reporter, and still working today. I mean, like, I was still, she was still reporting on all the stories of the day. So I thought that was pretty cool. So basically, she's just going over, like, we're seeing now the world learning about the Hulk's attack, and there's some footage captured of the Hulk actually attacking the army. And who is this footage captured by? By Jack McGee and Jim Wilson. That's right. They're back. So we talked all about these guys in a previous minute. During the attack, we see them run up and actually capture this footage on their phones. So like we said, Jack McGee is a character from the Incredible Hulk television series. Jim Wilson is a character from the Hulk comic books who's also related to another Wilson who will come flying through the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. But so you can go back to our previous minute if you want to hear more about that. But this is interesting because we get to hear a word that we have not heard very often here in the movie called The Incredible Hulk, and that's the word Hulk.
Oh.
They actually heard Jim Wilson said it was some kind of a Hulk. And in the commentary, they talked about there was a big debate behind the scenes about how much can we say Hulk? How much and later on, how much can we say abomination? Like, because this, you have to remember, the world was in a very different place in 2008 when this movie came out. Iron Man had just a thing, and they didn't know if people would buy Robert Downey Jr. in a metal suit flying around. We could make an action movie and just have it be like he's a giant hulking figure. Wink, nudge. But we can't actually call it like, look, there's the Hulk. Like, no one says that in the course of this movie. So they were still not quite sure how cinematic audiences were going to take to a full, in-your-face, not campy or ridiculous or punny take on superheroes. So they kind of hedged their bets a little bit. So then we go back to the reporter, and she says, further search for the mysterious... And that's where her thing gets cut off. That's where it ends. That's where minute 65 ends.
Okay, I have something ridiculous to point out, but I'm going to save that for a second. So, in doing some other research about WHIH news, there's the Marvel Cinematic Universe.fandom.com, one of the great wikis that has a whole bunch of information. They talk about what things they've reported on, what the WHIH people have reported on. So, before this event, so this footage that exists, believe it or not, in the Marvel Universe, going chronologically, they've actually reported on 6 other things.
Okay.
So I'm going to do reverse order from this. So before this...
So are you going from the first thing you reported till now, or are you going from the Culver University story backwards?
Backwards. So I'm going to go backwards. Okay. So Culver University story, the previous thing before this, still in 2010, was the Battle at Stark Expo. Is partly filmed.
Sure. Yeah, that was a couple days earlier.
Right. The item before that is Ivan Vanko's attack on Tony Stark.
Okay.
So at the Grand Prix. And then before that, it's Tony Stark's hearing before the Senate Armed Services Committee.
Oh, sure.
Before that was a live report from Chess Roberts at the Stark Expo, the opening ceremonies. So all of this will be in a future stuff. Mm-hmm. And then before that, there is a story that they had sent a news crew to cover insurgent attacks in an area in Iraq, knowing that Iron Man would appear.
Oh.
But it goes all the way back to the first report. They're the ones who reported the incident at Stark Industries where Tony Stark tells the world that he is Iron Man. Now, if you go back to the 2000s, that was, internet is still just blowing up, right?
Right.
And incredibly, J.J. Abrams was big on the viral marketing. Like, what could you do to add to things? You think about like Cloverfield and like all these different movies. Yep. What were the ways in which...
I mean, even Lost had a bunch
Lost did. I mean, absolutely.
This is about the same time period. Lost was 2005.
Exactly right. So this was interesting. I mean, they really, I think, were betting on a lot with this concept and seeing what was going to happen with it. Obviously, it did play a role, probably not as big a role now as they thought. But as we know, they're going on to other types of things for the viral.
Yeah, they're doing other marketing stunts that they're going to pull.
So as you close this out, I just want to mention this because we there is a really weird thing, and I wouldn't normally point this out, but I do feel compelled I have to point this out. So we have our reporter. She is reporting. As the minute ends, there is a student who walks behind her and
crosses frame from right to left.
Crosses frame. As he's walking behind her, he full on looks at her backside. And it's not... No, we're not imagining that. It's
because you mentioned this to me, like, hey, did you notice that? I said, no, and we watched the minute again, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Like, it is really, really obvious.
It's completely clear. Now, maybe it's not clear watching the movie, like, not like we are. Minute by
yeah,
minute.
sure, because it goes by, it's I would say it's in the last 2 seconds of the minute.
But when you see it, it's completely clear.
It's very, very obvious. That's where he's
almost looking. We'll get almost to the point that I think, when you're editing, obviously editors have to look, and we've talked about this before, you have to look at the entire composition of shots and understand what's going on. Well, I mean, is this left in there because it's like college students? I don't think this is something like you can't miss, because if you're an editor, you obviously see this.
And probably see it many, many times as you're doing it, because even just taking the raw footage and putting the chyron over it.
Well, and maybe this isn't, and who knows, this is probably not the only cut that they had of this.
I would imagine not. So
how
many people did that slip by?
Or it's just an anomaly, and that could be too.
And on that note, I think we can bring an end to our discussion and end to our discussion of minute 65. What will the end of that sentence be? You won't find out until minute 66. So stay subscribed, true believers. Would you like to wear some Marvel Movie Minute or the next reel-inspired clothing? Perhaps a pillow, maybe a phone case, maybe a mug. Well, we've got the place for you. If you go over to nextreel.com/merch, you will see all of our shows have a merchandise available to it, including some really fun stuff from our very own show. You can check it out.
Pal, and I just got to tell you something. I mean, it's the pillow, the phone case, stickers, the mug. I bought all those things. They are wonderful.
Don't let Rob be the only one who owns these wonderful items. No.
And I got to tell you, I know that's a little ridiculous, right? Did I really need a phone case with my own image on it? Did I need a pillow with my own image on it? Yes, I did. But let's just say you got to check them out because they are really fun, and it's really not only does it help us out, it's also just a great way to promote the podcast. And
that's right. And you can snuggle up with our beautiful bearded faces, and why wouldn't you want to? So,
well, I mean,
nextreel.com/merch. Buy all the things, and a little bit of that proceeds comes back to us to help keep the show running, and we appreciate that. So in the meantime, hope you had a smash a good time. Until next time, true believers.
Bye.